Welcome to another deep dive. Today we're embarking on, well, a real journey of discovery. What is it that drives someone to really seek truth? To leave everything behind for something deeper, for ultimate freedom.
It's a powerful question, isn't it? That fundamental urge, it seems, to grasp reality beyond just the surface level. And in this deep dive, we're going to explore exactly that, focusing on discernment through the amazing stories of two key figures in early Buddhism, Sāriputta and Moggallāna.
Absolutely. We'll follow their quest for liberation, look at their really quite surprising path to enlightenment, and uncover how deep the roots of their roles actually go. We're talking aspirations made lifetimes ago.
Yeah, and the material we're drawing on comes from these incredibly rich ancient texts. They offer this unique window into their motivations, their destinies, and how these past intentions really played out.
Okay, so our mission here is to uncover these fascinating stories, understand the sheer power of aspiration over, well, vast stretches of time, and really get what it means to tell the difference between what's substantial and what's unsubstantial. So where does their story begin?
We start in ancient Rajagaha. It's a bustling city, and we meet two young men, Upatissa and Kolita. Now, these weren't just any young guys. They were best friends, lifelong friends from these two incredibly wealthy families. Powerful families, intertwined, think privilege on a scale that's hard to even imagine today.
Right, the texts really paint a picture. Upatissa going out with, 500 golden palanquins?
Exactly, and Kolita had 500 chariots, Arabian chariots, each with its own large entourage. I mean, this was serious luxury, serious status.
Okay, so they're living this incredibly privileged life. What changes?
Well, it stems from this big annual festival, the Sañjaya. Think of it as the major entertainment event of the year. Huge spectacle. And for years, they'd go set up their special seats, get totally involved, laughing, feeling moved, the whole experience.
But then one year it hits differently.
Precisely. It's like their wisdom just ripened. Suddenly, watching the festival, it felt hollow. They looked at the crowds, the temporary nature of it all, and this profound thought struck them both. Something like, what are we really seeing here? Everyone here will be gone in 100 years. This is fleeting. We need to find a teaching, something real that leads to liberation.
Wow. And they both felt this.
Yeah.
At the same time.
That's the key. It was a shared moment. Kolita noticed Upatissa wasn't enjoying himself and asked him what was wrong. Upatissa basically said, there's no substance here. It's pointless. We have to find a way out, a liberating path. And Kolita was like, I was thinking the exact same thing.
That shared aha moment is pretty powerful. So, okay, they have this realization. What's the first step away from their old lives? They can't just stay there, right?
No, absolutely not. Their immediate next step was to seek out a teacher. They joined Sanjaya Bhaddavaggiyā, he was a known ascetic teacher there in Rajagaha. And get this, they brought 500 other young men with them, also looking for a path.
500. Sanjaya must have thought all his birthdays had come at once. Huge boost for his reputation, I imagine.
Oh, massively. His fame just exploded overnight. But remember that discernment we talked about? That insight they had at the festival? It kicked in again fast.
How so?
Well, after just a few days, Upatissa and Kolita realized they'd learned everything Sanjaya had to teach. His understanding was limited. It wasn't the ultimate path they were looking for. Their own spiritual maturity meant they saw the boundaries of his knowledge very quickly.
So back to square one, in a way.
Not exactly. They decided together, right then, that they needed to broaden their search. They would travel across all of Jambudvipa, the Indian subcontinent, looking for anyone, any ascetic or Brahmin who might hold the key. And they made this pact.
Ah, yes, the pact. Tell us about that.
They promised each other. If one of us finds the deathless, finds that ultimate path to liberation, they'll tell the other immediately. No holding back. And this promise, well, it becomes absolutely crucial.
Okay, so they're searching. This leads to a really key moment, doesn't it?
It really does. One morning, Upatissa, who we later know as Sāriputta, is in Rajagaha, and he sees a monk on alms round. This monk was Assaji, one of the Buddha's very first disciples.
What was it about Assaji that caught Upatissa's eye? There must have been many monks around.
It was something profound. Upatissa was struck by Assaji's incredible serenity. His clear senses, his pure complexion, his whole way of being, it just radiated deep spiritual attainment. Upatissa thought immediately, this monk, he's definitely an arahant, or he's on the path to becoming one. It shows Upatissa's own remarkable sensitivity, doesn't it?
Absolutely. That level of perception is amazing. So what did he do? Did he just walk up and ask?
He was very respectful. He didn't want to disturb Assaji during his alms round, so he followed him quietly. Once Assaji had finished eating, Upatissa approached, offered him water, the proper conduct for a student, and then he asked the questions. Venerable sir, who is your teacher? Under whom did you ordain? Whose teaching do you follow?
The million-dollar questions. And Assaji's answer.
Assaji, though still relatively new himself, gave this incredibly concise and profound summary of the Buddha's teaching. He recited the verse, Diadama hetubhava te samhetun tathagato te sankayo nirodhoka evam vadi mahasamano.
Which translates to...
Of things that arise from a cause, the Tathagata has declared the cause.
Okay.
And also their cessation. This is the doctrine of the great ascetic. Now here's the truly mind-blowing part. Upatissa heard just the first two lines.
Just the first two.
Just the first two lines about cause and effect, and boom, he instantly attained Sotapadhi, stream entry. He saw the path right there. It just clicked because his mind was so ready, so prepared from past lives.
Yeah. Instant enlightenment, basically, or the first stage of it. And the pact. He had to tell Kolita.
Exactly. He rushes back, finds Kolita, and Kolita sees his face radiant, transformed, and knows instantly. He knows Upatissa has found it, found the deathless.
So Kolita asks what happened.
Yes, and Upatissa repeats the verse Assaji taught him. And just like Upatissa, Kolita hears it and attains Sotapadhi right on the spot. Same immediate insight. It really speaks to their shared destiny, their connection.
Incredible. So now they both entered the stream. What about their old teacher, Sanjaya?
Right. They felt they should go back. They approached him respectfully, told him about the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha, the whole teaching. They invited him, come with us. We found the true path.
And Sanjaya's reaction, did he see the light in them too?
Sadly, no. Sanjaya refused. His reasoning. He said, look, I'm this famous teacher. Everyone knows me. How can I become a student again? It would be like, he used this phrase, like water shaking in a pot. Unseemly. He couldn't stomach the perceived loss of status.
Wow. Pride is a powerful thing.
It really is. He even said something quite revealing. He told them, okay, the wise people, they'll go to Gautama. But the slow-witted ones, they'll still come to me.
Ouch. So he basically admitted his teaching wasn't the highest, but clung to his position anyway.
That's pretty much it. He chose status over truth. And the consequence was immediate. His community split right down the middle. 250 of his followers left with Sāriputta and Moggallāna.
And the texts say Sanjaya had a physical reaction.
A dramatic one. It says he vomited hot blood when he saw his monastery half empty. A really visceral image of the suffering caused by clinging and attachment, right?
Definitely. What a contrast to the liberation Sāriputta and Moggallāna had found. Okay, so they arrive at the Buddha's monastery, Velavana, with these 250 followers. What kind of reception did they get?
An amazing one. Even while they were still approaching in the distance, the Buddha addressed the monks already gathered there. He said, monks, look, those two companions are coming, Kolita and Upatissa. They will be my chief disciples.
He declared it just like that, before they even arrived.
Just like that. A prophecy. And when they formally requested ordination, the Buddha simply said, come, monks, the Dhamma is well expounded. Live the holy life to make a complete end of suffering. And instantly, miraculously, they appeared fully ordained, robes, bowl, everything, looking like monks who'd practiced for 100 years.
That's incredible. What about the 250 others with them?
Here's another fascinating point. All 250 of those other ascetics attained full arahantship, the final stage of enlightenment right there upon ordination.
Wow. But not Sāriputta and Moggallāna, the future chief disciples.
Not immediately. Which seems strange at first, right? Moggallāna attained arahantship 7 days later. He was struggling with torpor, sleepiness, and the Buddha gave him direct guidance to overcome it.
Okay, 7 days. And Sāriputta, the one known for wisdom.
He took 15 days. He attained arahantship while fanning the Buddha, who was delivering a discourse, a sutta, to Sāriputta's own nephew. So this delay for the chief disciples caused a bit of a stir among the other monks.
I can imagine. They probably thought, wait a minute.
Exactly. The monks started murmuring, why are these newcomers getting the top spots? What about us? You know, the first 5 disciples, Yaśa and his friends, the Bhaddavaggiyas, Urvalakasapa and his brothers. We've been here longer. They felt it wasn't fair. Maybe favoritism.
A very understandable reaction. So how did the Buddha handle this? Did he just say, because I said so?
No. He used it as a teaching moment. He explained very clearly, I don't appoint based on favoritism. I don't look at faces. He said the appointments were purely based on the specific aspirations, the pathana these individuals had made in their past lives. It wasn't about seniority in this life, but about groundwork laid across immense timescales.
Ah, so it goes back to those past lives again. The power of intention.
Precisely. And he gave examples. He talked about Kandana, the first disciple to awaken in this era. Why was he first? Because 91 eons ago, as a householder named Kulakala, he offered special rice to the Vipassi Buddha 9 times in one harvest. And his specific aspiration wasn't for chief discipleship, but simply, may I be the first to realize the truth? And so he was. The karma ripened exactly according to the intention.
Okay, that makes sense. What about Sāriputta? His aspiration must have been huge to explain that 15-day delay.
Exactly. His story goes back even further, 100,000 eons, to the time of Anamadasi Buddha. Sāriputta was then an ascetic named Sarada, with thousands of his own followers. When Anamadasi Buddha visited, Sarada made this incredible offering, a seat made of flowers, and he held a flower parasol over the Buddha for 7 straight days, an immense act of devotion.
7 days holding a parasol. Wow.
Yeah. And during that time, seeing Anamadasi's chief disciple, Sarada made his aspiration. By this merit, may I become the chief disciple of a future Buddha, specifically Gautama Buddha. The Buddha explained that the delay in attaining arahantship wasn't a lack, but the result of the sheer scale of this aspiration and the preparatory work the Priyakama needed across lifetimes. It was like a king preparing for a massive journey. It takes time and immense resources.
So the preparation itself was part of the path, shaping his wisdom. And Moggallāna. Was he there too, 100,000 eons ago?
He was. He was Sarada's friend, a householder named Sīravādaka. He also made huge offerings to Anamadasi Buddha for 7 days and made the aspiration to be the second chief disciple under Gautama Buddha. Their paths were intertwined even then, setting these specific intentions together.
It's incredible how precise these long-term intentions are said to be. Did the Buddha explain others too? The ones the monks were complaining about?
He did. He mentioned Yaśa's companions, 55 of them. In a past life, they practiced asupasanya, perception of impurity, by contemplating a decaying corpse in a charnel ground. That deep practice conditioned their minds for rapid insight in this life.
So their quick attainment wasn't random either, and the Bhaddavaggiyā brothers, there were 30 of them.
Yes, they used to be, well, rascals apparently. But after hearing a teaching in a past life, they committed to upholding the 5 precepts for 60,000 years. 60,000. That long-term commitment to ethical conduct paved the way for their quick progress now.
60,000 years. It shows that past actions, even after a rough start, have immense power. What about the Kassapa brothers, the former fire worshippers with 1,000 followers?
Their story is also fascinating and goes back 92 eons to the time of Phusa Buddha. They were princes then, and they arranged to provide food for that Buddha and his Sangha for 3 months. But here's a twist. They're administrators who, in this life, became King Bimbisara, and the laywoman Visakha skimmed off some of the provisions.
Oh dear. What happened to the administrators?
Bad news for them. They were reborn as hungry ghosts for 4 entire Buddha intervals. That's an unimaginable length of time because of that misappropriation. They were only liberated much, much later through offerings made by King Bimbisara in this lifetime, connecting the karmic dots.
Wow. That really drives home the long-term consequences and connections. So it's absolutely clear these roles weren't just handed out. They were earned through specific actions and intentions over vast periods.
Exactly. And this brings us back to Sanjaya, doesn't it? His failure was precisely in this area of discernment. The Buddha explicitly said Sanjaya suffered from wrong view. He mistook the unsubstantial for the substantial, and vice versa.
And the Buddha recited verses to illustrate this.
Yes, from the Dhammapada. Those who imagine the unsubstantial to be substantial and the substantial to be unsubstantial do not reach the core, for they are caught in wrong intentions.
And the flip side. But those who know the substantial as substantial and the unsubstantial as unsubstantial reach the core, for they are caught in right intentions. So how do we unpack substantial and unsubstantial here?
Well, unsubstantial is basically things like wrong views, clinging, craving, teachings based on those things. Anything that seems important but ultimately doesn't lead to freedom, doesn't have lasting value. It's the fluff, the distractions, the dead ends.
Like Sanjaya clinging to his status.
Exactly. And substantial is the opposite. It's right view, right intention, the path itself. Things like ethics, concentration, wisdom, the understanding of reality, and ultimately, nibbana, liberation. That's the real deal, the core.
And Sāriputta and Moggallāna, through their wisdom, honed over lifetimes, and their clear aspiration, could see the difference. They recognized Assaji's teaching as substantial and Sanjaya's as unsubstantial.
Precisely. Their journey is a masterclass in discernment. They didn't get sidetracked. They saw the true path and followed it, which led them to their destined roles and ultimate liberation.
Which really makes you think, doesn't it? This isn't just ancient history. That skill of discernment, telling the truly valuable from the fleeting, is maybe more important than ever for us today, with so much information and so many choices pulling us in different directions.
Absolutely. How do we, in our own lives, sort through it all? How do we identify what's genuinely substantial, what truly leads towards well-being and understanding, versus what's just noise?
It's the core challenge. So we've traced these incredible journeys of Sāriputta and Moggallāna, seen the astonishing power of aspiration laid down across eons, and highlighted this crucial lesson about discerning the real from the unreal. Their lives show us that our choices, our intentions, and especially our ability to see clearly fundamentally shape our path.
Yeah, it's a potent reminder that where we are now is connected to past intentions, and what we intend now shapes the future. And that clear seeing, that discernment, is the key to navigating it wisely.
So here's something to maybe reflect on after this deep dive. What unsubstantial things do we often mistake for substantial in our own daily lives? And perhaps more profoundly, what aspirations are we setting in motion right now, consciously or maybe unconsciously, for our own future journey?